Got my best aunt ever mug here. My Aunt Carol passed away last year. It's one of the main things I want to keep. She was a big coffee drinker. Anyway, so previously you saw I did a layout for a video for tightening up my pencils, tightening up my layouts really, and then this is going to be for the inking. So one of the first things I do after my pencils is I'll do the panel borders here. Excuse me. There's a lot of different ways to do them. I just use the selection thing and then use the deselect after I do the main area. Then I use a deselect to kind of create the gutters and stuff. And as you would know by now, I'm totally not a technical person, even though I'm working digitally. So I'm sure there's all kinds of ways you're supposed to be doing this and all sorts of rules about how thick gutters should be and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know. I've never seen it to be an issue, at least not for me. Okay, let's do some ink-a-dink. God damn, I forget what is being said in this panel, but it feels like there's not enough space here in this top panel. Oops. So I'm going to lower their figures a bit. It's one of the things I love about working digitally. Look at that. I can just move things around really easy without having to redraw it or paste it or anything like that. Alright, so I've created a new layer here. This is my inking layer. And I like to have my inking layer because then I can just go right into inks. Oops, I gotta use my inking brush. I've been using this Inker Gritty and Realistic brush. God, I don't remember if it came with Clip Studio or if it was one of the brushes I downloaded from Friendin or Kyle Brushes. I forget. But I've been liking it, so I'm going with it. It's got a little bit of texture to it. That goes a long way. One of the reasons why I like to keep my borders down here and then my inks up here is I can overlap with the border and then just easily erase without having to kind of fight around the border and stuff like that, if that makes any sense. I'm finding at the size that I'm working at, which is at print size at 600 dpi, using the brush around size 50 or 60 seems to work a lot. I'm going to keep the stabilization up really high because I'm going to do this contour lines to what is the hospital bed, and I just want these lines to look super smooth. Now obviously I have a pretty steady hand when it comes to this stuff, but the tool's there to stabilize it, to make it even smoother at times, or to just help keep things smooth. Great. I've also talked about how for some reason putting the stabilization up around 20, it really helps more so with these sharp lines, these tips, more than anything else. I don't know why when it's lowered it's not quite as sharp as a tip, so I like to keep my tips to get pretty sharp. I'm going to do some detail here, so I'm going to go down to about a 17 for these like tubes that are kind of coming out of her. And I guess for the details around the face, I'm going to keep at this smaller brush size. The background's going to be black here, so it won't matter too much how I do these outlines, but let's pretend like there's no black background and I want to show you how I'm inking this, where I'm putting the depth in the line. So the light is still kind of coming down from the front, or from the top. So typically my lines will be thinner towards anything facing the light, top of the nose, and then get thicker and things away from the light, the bottom of the nose. She's an older woman, so there's a bit of a crease here in between the where the lips end. That's a nice little indicator for age that I found. So again, thinner here facing the light, thicker beneath. So thin, thick. Ooh. I have questions about how this eye is going to turn out, but let's see. So she's older, she's in a hospital, she's hurt, she's on drugs. So her eyes are pretty old looking here. Lots of little lines and folds. Hairline, so thinking about the light from the above, so thin to thick, thick to thin. I also like to draw, she's in the hospital, so her hair's gonna be messed up. It's all kind of matted up in the back, so I've done a lot of shots where her hair is just pushed up near the back here. I'm creating some black areas in here so that, because the light is coming from above, that means most of the line work near the top of her head is going to be thinner and finer, and then towards the bottom here it's going to get thicker. So we're going to have more black down at the bottom of her hair and more white towards the top of her hair. I'm going to erase this area because his hand is coming here to the edge. Oops. To the edge of this, the side of her bed. I don't know what you'd call that. Going back to the thicker line work here at 50. Shape of his jacket. There's no particular reason why I'm starting on any body part or whatever. It's just, that's just where I start. A lot of times I start in the face because that's the most focus, the most interest. Pardon me. But other than that, I don't have any theories of where you should start or why. You just go with, I don't know, what you're most excited about or what's easiest. I like to go, doing what's easy is good because it gives you a sense of, accomplishment and ease already going into the page. At the same time, starting out with something harder might kind of give you that same confidence, by tackling something hard successfully early on the page, like a face or a hand or something, or an effect. Then that might actually give you more of a sense of confidence going into something. Well, my nose is weird. Head's a little flat. I don't want that. So a lot of times with my contrast, when I'm using black and white, or when I'm inking, I try to think of things as a checkerboard. How do I get this sort of black and white contrasting going? Because for me, a page is all about, when I'm inking, contrast. So you'll see here that I have, let me shut the pencils off, black, white, black, white. That's the kind of pattern I'm going to try to continue to replicate throughout the pages as I'm inking them. because that just creates this great sense of contrast. Um, Alright, that'll be black there. This area here is part of her blankets and legs and stuff. That's going to be black in there. So since that's going to be black, there's going to be kind of this white highlight, thicker towards the black side. This is going to be white, so I can make that nice and just keep that solid black, since this area is going to be more open with, you know, some lines just indicating the blankets. I'm leaving this white area here, and when it pops over here to this black area, it could lose the form of the jacket, because this is going to be black and this is going to be black. But with this white coming in, it makes it nice and clear exactly where his arm ends. And it's going to be black. That'll be black. I'm going to do a video pretty soon, I think, even, that is just about how I'm laying down the shadows, because there's a couple different ways of going about it, whether you have a shadow coming from an object that casts behind the object, or whether it's the shadow that's actually cast on itself. It's a little hard to explain. Well, actually, here's a quick example. So this tube coming out of her nose, I've got the shadow on the object, but I could bump that up more. Say like this, right? That looks pretty good. It gives it lots of weight and lots of depth. But I also like when the shadow drops on the object behind it. That looks really good too. In fact, I'm going to keep it like that. But that's going to be a little bit more in depth, and we'll get into that in another little video. Alright, so a lot of what I'm doing here, I mean, I don't want to say it's advanced, but because I have enough experience, I see these shapes and where all this black lines and black shapes are going to end up when I'm finished inking, which might be a little hard to see, especially like in this area right now. It might just kind of look like a mess, right? But I already see it in my head how it comes together. And then I have to go in and tighten up some stuff. Clean up some of these sloppier lines. Ideally, I would have made this thinner. That works. Sometimes I'll go in with an eraser. This is so actually I'm erasing pixels with this. It's different than the erasing tool. I'm not exactly sure why, but Taki likes it when I use this, so it makes it easier on her color. So I'd rather use this thing, like she said, which erases pixels versus I don't know how to explain it. Boy, don't you guys love it when you signed up for this thing to learn tips from Mike, and he's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. Because I'm an idiot. I've also got to admit I'm not feeling 100% today. It's not just a cough. I'm a little tired. But weariness is no excuse to not get pages done. Comics is about hard work, man. I don't know how many people get that. It's fucking hard. Hours are hard. The dedication of doing it constantly, like, you have to love doing this. You really do. And I do, man. I get anxious when I'm not drawing. If a day goes by where I just didn't get anything done, I get anxious. I get upset when I have chores to do and I know that it's eating heavily into my work time. Like, freaks me out. That's how much I love and am dedicated to drawing comics. I think people have to figure it out once they actually break in. Is it really for you? Like, now that you've made it, do you really want to have a life like this? It could be tough. And I've seen some people just disappear after they've made it big because it's hard, and they'd rather go into video games or something where, frankly, it's a lot easier. I worked at Valve, a video game company, for a while, and it's definitely challenging, but the most I got out of Valve was I learned stuff, and that was amazing. But I gotta say, it's pretty easy compared to drawing comics all day, even though I drew comics mostly while I was there. But still, as a job, you go in at a set time, you clock in, you clock out, you leave that work behind you. Comics, when you're making them at home, it's kind of 24/7, 7 days a week. I don't know what the holidays are until I go out and then the banks are closed. I'm like, what happened? It's like, oh, okay, it's a holiday. People have off. I don't. Most of us don't. Most of us freelancers or, creator guys. But we love it. I'm not exactly sure what my point is. Fuck you. I guess the point is that this is, making comics is a labor of love, for sure. So there's a panel there. Let me look at the rest of this page. I'll tell you what, I'll keep on going if you guys can deal with it. I'm kind of warning you. Yeah, I'm obviously not in like a clear headspace, and I'm tired. So I'll at least keep going for this other panel. I think I might have to hop off and just power through this on my own. Because talking, like I said, it's an extra layer of effort. It makes it hard. But yeah, if any of you guys are listening to this, and you can figure out how I could do some live chatting with you while I'm doing this, then let's do it. I might just have to sign on to that Discord thing. I see Nick do it, and Eric Kennedy, and it seems to work for them really well. I just don't want like yet another thing I have to sign on to and all that. I feel like the digital world is just taking too much of my space and time, my mental bandwidth and all that. Like, I got the new iPhone yesterday, and it's not that I'm Mr. Fancy Pants who loves technology and all that kind of stuff. It's just we signed on for a program a long time ago called like a jump program that allows you to easily upgrade to the newest phone. And even though I kind of didn't want to because my other phone was working fine, we know we're only leasing the phones, and then we'll eventually have to like sell them or pass them off or something. And we figured, well, if it's the newer phone, then I'll get a little more bang for the buck if we sell it or let it go or something. So we upgraded, and even that I hated doing. It feels like I'm in some sort of cult. I don't know. I get weirdly old manish about some stuff where some things will just bug me. I don't really know why. Like, why did getting a new phone bother me so much? I think part of it was the time, like just knowing I was spending time at fucking T-Mobile or something like that and not working for a technology that feels more like it's encroaching on my life than benefiting it, you know. There we go. That's not too bad. Just sort of panicked. Panic look in her eyes here because her son's freaking out on her, saying all kinds of fucked up shit that Brian likes to write. Oh, I forgot to draw the thing on the other side of her nose here. Oops. Oh yeah, and that's the thing too with the fuck, what did I just call it? The talking program, the Discord. Yeah, I sign on for Discord, but then you guys have to sign on for it too. Like, I just want there to be some easy way to be able to chat and talk with you guys while I'm working here. So let's figure it out. Maybe you guys have some suggestions. Alright, I'm gonna draw the eye over here, but as you can see in my layout, I kind of half drew it and like had it badly cropped where his body was half covering her eye and stuff. So that means it's all messed up the way I drew it, where it's placed and stuff, because it was just sort of off the cuff sketching. So I'm going to flip over the entire thing. Look at it backwards, that old trick. Get rid of the ink lines. Here's my layout thing. I'm going to make another layer so that I can just see it a little bit better. I kind of need the ink lines here, but I'm going to just lower the opacity. This way I can see what I drew. Alright, I think that'll work. Just pump the ink back up. Happy trees. Alright, I think that's okay. Let's flip that back over. Let's take a look at it again. Boy, one of the things I really like about doing these videos is it helps keep my ass just tied here to the desk. You know, keeps me from fucking off. Because I am not feeling it right now. I'm just tired and not feeling all that great. So it'll be a great time to just fuck off. But I'm not going to. I'm going to power through this. I've got to do something with this undefined area over here. Probably like his collar. There we go. It looks a little like a collar. This panel feels done. Alright, I am going to take a quick break, but it won't be long. And I'll come back to finish up these other panels here. Yeah. I'll see you in a few.